What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. It is Wednesday, July 27th. If you're listening to the podcast in audio form, if you are watching with us live on YouTube, it is Tuesday, July 26th. And joining me to break down the AFC North, to talk about the AFC North, we'll do something. Ryan Wilson, what's up, buddy?
I'm laughing because I went to check quickly. You must have said this on yesterday's podcast, but the Venmo requests for money are flooding in from listeners.
No, I didn't actually say it on yesterday's podcast.
Oh, well, maybe they're just listening to the podcast.
Oh, it's Monday's podcast, though, maybe.
Maybe. The latest one just came in moments ago from Tyler Young. He requests $150 to support single mothers at the strip club. So I will certainly be
oh, my goodness gracious.
Filling that request. Thank you, Tyler. Money well spent, no doubt. Yes.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the AFC North burning training camp questions. We'll also get to a little news off the top. I should also point out that we are still up for the Best Sports Podcast Award, the People's Choice Podcast Awards. And as always, we love that you guys are interactive with us, that you do stuff like send Ryan Wilson Venmo requests. So if you've got the time to do that, you've also got the time to vote for us. And you can do so by going to podcastawards.com/app/sign up. Talking under the sports category, whole process takes less than 60 seconds. You actually do pick six there. And if we get through to the finals, then there's like 5 finalists. And if we win the award, I will get a tattoo. Won't be done in Nashville when we're there. But like Ryan Wilson's, but it'll get done if we win the award, not if we get to the finals. Have to win the entire award for that to happen. Wilson, you'll get to some news.
Lay it on me. What's the news?
No, it's just some stuff around.
Did you hear about Joe Burrow?
Yeah, let's get to Joe. We can do Joe Burrow first, sure.
What'd you hear?
He was having an appendectomy.
Oh, I heard he had hair plugs. I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
I think we need to refresh some of the sounds for the.
That sounded like a Bengals song. Is that what that was?
That was the Bengals fight.
The Bengals crawling, mean and angry. Oh, yeah. Here he comes the crawling.
There you go. Well, I don't know if I'm going to play that.
I think
might not be a good time to play it. Yeah, Joe Burrow had an appendectomy apparently on Tuesday. I think. Rap Sheet was among the first to report it. Undergoing surgery to remove his appendix, source says. According to Rap Sheet, he'll miss some practice time, but better now than later, he says in the tweet, which I think checks out. And I was alerted to this because I saw our buddy Paul Daner, who works for The Athletic and lives in Cincinnati. He's covered the Bengals forever. He said Google searches from 513 area code explode, quote, appendix removal recovery time, end quote. A quick search, according to Paul, suggests that 2 to 3 weeks back to normal activities. So if Google is doing the procedure, there's your timeline.
There you go.
2 to 3 weeks.
And I do think it is good to, like, if you're going to have appendicitis, it's better to do it, like, have it done now rather than like.
Yeah, I think it's sort of out of your hands. It's up to your appendix to burst.
Yeah, but I wonder, yeah, for sure. But I mean,
the real question for me is, does this mean you signed Ryan Finley for 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, baby. But it doesn't sound like it's emergency appendicitis.
I think your stomach hurts. You go to the doctor. They see your appendix is burst or about to burst, and maybe you do the surgery. I have no.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually what happens. It's like you're in an extreme amount of pain, and and you go to the doctor, and they tell you to. Yeah, exactly.
Get it removed. I don't know if there's preemptive appendix surgeries. I don't know about that.
I don't know either.
Either way, 2 to 3 weeks. Well timed in that he misses the hottest part of training camp and the stuff he already knows how to do. So quick recovery.
Should be no big deal at all.
Without looking, can you name at least one Bengals backup quarterback? I don't think
it's not Ryan Finley.
No, he's out of currently.
Brandon Allen still, maybe?
Brandon Allen is, along with Jake Browning. I think that's former Louisville player Jake Browning. That's it. Those are the only guys on the roster. My goodness. All right, well.
Yeah, I mean, that's Brandon Allen's a younger. I mean, yeah, it's if you lose Joe Burrow, you're banged. I mean, you're in a bad spot.
I would actually think about playing Tyler Boyd.
And Jake Browning, Washington Husky.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh, now all of a sudden, Debo, all the back talk is turned off.
I'm back.
Yeah, what did
You are correct.
Where did you say he was? Oregon?
I said Louisville. Wasn't there a Browning that played at Louisville a long time? Nagel. What's Nagel's first name?
What on earth are you doing? Aren't you the college guy?
Was it Browning Nagel from 20 years ago? It was Browning Nagel.
Why would you think that he is the quarterback of the backup
Browning
Bengals?
Browning Nagel is 54 years old. So I just missed.
What on earth?
He did go to Louisville, however, so I got that part right.
I guess give you, dock me a point too, because I was like, yeah, it sounds right?
Debo had his finger hovering over the button to say, no, he went to the University of Washington, dummy. I don't know why.
Okay, it's all right. You know what I said, and I said this on yesterday's podcast with Sully, but you were like, is Robert Saleh really in year 3? I was like, absolutely. He's not. He's in year 2.
Oh, you actually convinced me, just like the Joe Flacco thing. You convinced me being the MVP a few years ago. So that's
got a lot of tweets about the mailbag with the snakes and the
even
landmines, and I got a lot of. That was the No, we said that on the mailbag. I said
on the mailbag, the Friday Live, Monday replay. What was the consensus from the responses you got over?
I think it's all over the place on the snakes. I mean, I think most people, it's most people believe in their athletic ability enough to suggest that they can beat the snakes versus the potential death risk of hitting a landmine, the unknown of the landmine. I think people but like that's easy to say now.
Exactly. Like I told you, you would pick landmine until you get up to the starting line. Then you
and you're like, you look over and you're at landmine. You're like, hey, how are those 1,000 snakes, bro? And I'm like, can I switch to the landmine? You
see your buddy's charred body still smoking from stepping on the landmine. Like, you know what? I'm gonna do the snakes. By the way, the people that
you're saying you think. I think you get up there and if you have to make your choice right before you run, you're 100% picking landmine because you're looking.
Oh no, no, you're not. Because you are faced with your imminent death, whereas the snakes, you have a chance to survive.
Wait. You think if you got up there and you see an empty field versus a field with 1,000 snakes, you're gonna pick the snakes?
I think so. I think most people do that just because
those snakes are rattling and they're angry and there's no path through there. There's no path.
The unknown of the one false step sending you 400 feet into the air and then coming down in several pieces might.
I would be like down. I would be like trying to to see if you could figure out where the landmines have been buried.
That's fine. I mean, that wouldn't change anything.
I literally can't believe 45 minutes on Friday didn't settle this debate.
He must have spent all weekend thinking about it because I've moved on. But yeah, it really got to him. That's what it takes.
I was asking people about it on Sunday.
What AK say?
I didn't ask her. I should.
I love that. You ask everyone on planet Earth except your wife.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Well, it's just more of there's the
stupid guy thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the machismo of the snakes.
Machismo, he said. I'm the one.
Kyler Murray. I found this fascinating. Did you see the clause in his contract? Did you see the clause?
I read the headline and I said, this sounds too stupid for me to actually read the story. So I just moved on to something else about snakes and
so the Arizona Cardinals included a
independent study.
It's just pretty wild, man. Ian Rappaport tweeted it out first. I don't think it's oftentimes notable where information comes from in the NFL when you deal with this. And Kyler Murray, there's an addendum in Kyler's new contract that requires the Pro Bowler to, quote, complete at least 4 hours of independent study as defined below in the contract each week, excluding any bye week during each playing season as defined below during the term of the contract, in quote. And it all so
this excludes the bye week. So the bye week he can take off from his graduate level studies is what you're saying.
Yes, the Cardinals are, by virtue of his contract, making him work outside of the facility for 4 hours per week on each game, it's
Wait
like
a second. Stop. I'm going to break this down. So why does it have to be outside the facility? Like he can sit at home and watch film or something. Is that what you mean?
they want him to, yeah. So Rap Sheet actually posted the full contract of it. And now I'll get to something that I find very interesting about it. But independent study means, this is reading directly from the contract. Independent study means player studies the material provided to him by the club in order to prepare for the club's next upcoming game, including without limitation any such material provided via an iPad or other electronic device.
Wait, say that last sentence again. Including?
It's 4 hours.
No, just the last sentence about the iPads.
Including without limitation any such material provided via an iPad.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
Time spent in mandatory meetings shall not constitute independent study. Players
By the way, let me stop you again. This sounds like something I would come up with for my teenager
15-year-old
to study and instead of playing video games.
Your 15-year-old is not doing his homework, and so you're like, you have to do 4 hours, like he's like failing.
We've literally drawn up a contract, by the way, that he has to sign because otherwise he'll say he didn't remember it or some other BS.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Players shall receive no credit for independent study for any period during which player does not personally study the provided material in good faith. For the avoidance of doubt, players shall not receive any credit for independent study with respect to any time periods during which any material is displayed or played on an iPad or other electronic device if A, player is not personally studying or watching the material while it is being displayed or played, or B, players engaged in any other activity that may distract his attention. For example, watching television, playing video games, or browsing the internet while such material is being displayed or played. In other words, Kyler can't just he can't watch TV and have the iPad running. He has to, forcing Kyler Murray to work harder at becoming a good quarterback.
Okay, let me ask some questions. So, as someone who's tangentially related to a lawyer, you have no legal degree or any sort of.
I mean, I'm directly related to a lawyer, but sure.
Background, but I mean tangentially related to the legal.
I fancy myself a bit of a.
What is quote avoidance of doubt end quote? What does that mean in the context of that sentence?
They're saying to avoid any questions about what good faith means.
Are they monitoring this through the iPad? Telling you do you have a sensor that sees where your eyeballs are staring? Because I'm sure those things exist.
I don't know how you would verify that Kyler is not watching.
Does Cliff have to sit over his shoulder when he's?
There's probably going to be a test on it.
So the other question I had, and again, whatever. I mean, he's 23 or 24.
They're treating him like a 10-year-old.
Absolutely, but. Who leaked this and how does Kyler feel about it? Was it part of the contract, the money, hey, by the way, we're going to put this out there just to hold your feet to the fire?
Now, here's what's interesting.
Why didn't you answer the question I just asked?
I'm going to, but I'm going to read number 4 real quick. That number 3, that was a long, I know that was meaty. The gist of that, by the way, is just that you have to study 4 hours of actually studying.
Just a week though, not a day. Right?
4 hours over the course of the week.
That's
leading up to the game.
Go ahead.
Of studying away from the facility on your own football plays and material, the playbook. You're and you can't do it while you're watching TV or playing. You can't just run. You can't just run a bunch of film and not watch it.
If you're watching on YouTube, Debo's putting some of the comments up on the screen.
C-Rad
writes he can't look
swipe at Tinder.
Yeah.
And then it said, in the event player breaches this addendum in any respect at any time during the term of the contract, player shall be deemed to be in default, as that term is defined in paragraph 27 of the contract. Now, I haven't seen paragraph 27, but when you default on a contract,
go ahead.
It's not good.
Not good. Thank you for your loyalty.
I mean, if defaulting on the contract is as a normal default of a contract would be, it likely voids future guarantees and could force him to pay back his signing bonus. Now, I don't know that because I haven't seen paragraph 27, but that is the normal area. That is the normal definition of what default would cause. So, playing season means the period beginning on the first Monday after the conclusion of training camp and ending with the last game of the club schedule, including any postseason games. And it doesn't say he has to do it by Friday. So I guess in theory he could,
Could what?
Could just like fire up 4 hours on Saturday. I guess they don't care when he does the 4 hours.
No, as a parent who has similar issues trying to get a teenager to do things in a timely fashion instead of the last minute, I would imagine the Cardinals would prefer that he not wait till the last minute, in part because doesn't help the learning process, and also because they've gone through great strides to embarrass Kyler Murray publicly into doing the right thing. Things I've also tried that don't work, by the way. So I don't know what the solution is other than perhaps not paying him all this money, because ultimately it sounds like he's not going to be worth it. Not because he's not a good quarterback, but he doesn't appear to have above the neck interest in doing what is required of him. But I don't know. Maybe Kyler's agent will release a contract where he wants Steve Keim to do a better job of surrounding Kyler Murray with football players. I don't know. It's one of the weirdest things I remember seeing in a contract.
It is so demeaning to Kyler, the player. But
here's the thing. So if they said, we will make you the second highest paid player in NFL history, but this is what's going to happen, you're signing up for that.
Yeah. They're like, I mean, and the other thing too that's worth noting is that in this contract, and this is based on overthecap.com, which does a very good job of getting the stuff up there. So I have no reason to believe it's not true, but he has no guaranteed salary in 2025 or 2025, 2026, 2027, or 2028. But a March 20th option, like if he's still on the team not option, excuse me. If he's still on the team on March 20th
of next year?
No. So like March 20th, like after the March 20th, after the 2024 season.
Oh, okay.
Or like, I need to see the specifics, but basically the Cardinals have a lot of outs here. They're not going to use them unless Kyler's just like,
most contracts have a lot of outs, typically speaking. What you don't do is put the face of the franchise on blast for having terrible study habits.
So to answer your next question, who released this? I mean, I think very clearly it came from someone with the Cardinals.
But do you think that Kyler's camp, in quotes, understood this was going to happen?
I think they probably knew that it might get out there, yeah. But I don't think that they would be the ones who get it out there.
That would be something. I haven't heard any pushback from Kyler.
On the other hand, this could be from Kyler's camp because
good Lord, why got to do that?
Well, the contract was going to get uploaded to the roster management system anyway, right? It was somebody was going to read it and find it.
Yeah, so but I mean, Florio would read it eventually when he got around to it, but no one else is looking for this. Now you have created thousands of headlines instead of hundreds.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just looking at the way that it's framed by Rap Sheet. It said contracts are about give and take. One example from Kyler's $230.5 million contract. There's an addendum that requires blah, blah, blah. He's like, it was important to the team making a commitment at that level. Thus, it was important to Murray.
Well, it could be the case that the Cardinals released it and Kyler's agent said, hey, soften this up for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Either way, it's out there. Either way, it does not reflect well on Kyler based on what you've told me. And, half of what you say is true. So maybe none of this is as bad as it seems. But has there been any positive spin on what this means for Kyler? Like he hasn't said I'm going to study hard or any of that stuff, has he?
No, I don't think he's
too busy too busy browsing the internet.
Who, me or Kyler?
Both.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think.
Which brings me to my next point, that your next CBS contract should have some sort of study habit.
Probably so. I was trying to see. All right, here. This the three hosts of the show that Kyler Murray calls in their contracts. What would it be for?
Oh, Brinson's contract would be the exact word for word, the exact same as Kyler's.
Mine would be you
show up once a week prepared. Just once. That's what it would be.
I prepared for yesterday's podcast.
I was
suck it.
So I have no idea if that was true. Speaking, by the way,
and then Rap Sheet also had this. I was looking for the other tweet. I knew because he always does the thing, and Schefter does it too. Now it's annoying. It's like they tweet their news and then they quote tweet the news.
Oh, what does that do for him?
It just pushes it out there further. Kyler Murray does 4 hours of game studying on his own anyway. And similar to the team wanting him around for the offseason as the face of the franchise, Arizona wanted a commitment in writing while going to a certain place money wise. Thus, the clause. So it's
Rap Sheet said that.
See, that's where it's like that follow-up is definitely from Kyler's agent, Eric Burkhart, or like Kyler's camp. Excuse me. I don't want to call out Burkhart specifically, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely like somebody in Kyler's camp is like, hey, by the way, he does this anyway. And he probably does.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, how many quarterbacks have we covered over the last 12 years, and how many times have we seen their contracts say they need to study 4 hours a week?
0.
Right.
But I do wonder, like, I think it is interesting to note that, like, I would guess that at some point there's been a comment, there's been comments or conversations that occurred where the Cardinals are like, Kyler, you're not studying enough, and that's why you hear like they're worried about his maturity and like, does he love the game?
And by the way, a lot of players study at home on their iPads. It just speculating here, but it must be clear to them, the Cardinals, that it is not showing up in practice and clearly not showing up in the games. Because you can say, yeah, I studied for 8 hours and then go out there and play like me or you.
But I'm guessing that there were comments and conversations where they're like, Kyler, you're not studying your playbook at home.
Yes, I am.
You're right. And he's like, all right. So he opens up his iPad and like hits play and like figure out a way to do it where he can just like watch TV or like, goof off like he's, and so in other words, like that's a very specific follow-up.
Very weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's like extremely specific to say.
To ask a grown man that you just paid $46 million and change to a year to actually,
right.
Go the extra mile.
He doesn't get credit for it if he's not personally studying or watching them. It's personally studying. Who else would be studying it?
I don't know.
Do you hire a football tutor?
Meanwhile, in related news, guess who couldn't say enough good things about Mac Jones yesterday? Bill Belichick, about how hard he's working, about how he's improved so much from year 1 to year 2, how his dad bod is now I don't know what you call a millennial. He's not even a millennial. What comes after millennials? Gen Y?
Gen Z.
Gen Z. Oh, God, I missed one. Gen Z bod is coming into shape.
Joe Wilson's Gen Z, is that right?
Yeah, that's what Debo said, Gen Z.
No, you're the
I'm Gen X. I'm the OG Gen.
No, you're like what is it? What is the generation they call the greatest generation?
Baby boomers.
Yeah, no, you're one beyond a boomer. You're older than a boomer.
One before boomer. I don't know what that is.
Greatest generation.
Brinson's,
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
considered a geriatric millennial, so that's fun. That's
just
like a
fun. See, that's. I'd rather be a boomer than a geriatric millennial. Is it actually a geriatric millennial?
Yeah,
you're on the high. You're on the high side.
You're the first year of it.
But why would they have to add geriatric to that?
Because you're 1,000 years old. What do you mean? Why?
It
spans like what, 7 or 8 years or something, and you're at the high end, 41. Come on, it's ancient. No answer for that.
I mean, it's just rude. Why does it have to be geriatric? Doesn't make any damn sense.
Have you seen yourself?
Yeah, okay. I look young. There's buzz about how young I look.
Ryan, remember that 3-year-old baby that asked him if he was 26?
Yeah, where's your baby friend? Your baby friend that knows 2 words, 3 and 5.
Good times.
All right. Focus. Let's go. What are you looking at? Pay attention.
I'm nothing.
Come on, Kyler. You can do it.
What would Wilson's clause be, Devo?
That he works too hard and should take more time off.
Stop it. There'd be something like no more flying off the handle at coworkers.
When's the last time I did that? That wasn't you. Who's the last coworker I flipped?
Well,
huh?
Maybe they'd give you a stop showing up drunk to the podcast. Call us it.
Okay, I do that after the draft. That's the only time I show up.
Mike McCarthy got a ringing endorsement from Jerry Jones. I want to be real clear. He wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't believe he wasn't the man to lead this team to Super Bowl. He wouldn't be. And I have choices.
I think those last 4 words, I have choices, means that I'm going to hire Dan Quinn and/or the offensive coordinator at the end of the season if things go sideways. What's the OC's name again? Kellen Moore. I always forget his name.
Yeah.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe Jerry Jones? 10 being 100%, he's not going to go back on his word. Let me add a caveat that
like 1, I think he's gonna would immediately flip on his word, or what's the
right. And let's do a year from now, and let's do 24 months from now. So a year from now, 1 to 10.
I mean, it's a 1 with Jerry, I think.
Wait, you think a year from now Mike could be out?
Yeah.
Well, then 2 years is a 0. Then I suppose.
Well, I mean, I just think if the Cowboys go 9-8, and that's not that crazy, and they've missed it.
He's 100% coming back. at 9-8.
They missed the playoffs and Sean Payton's interested, then he's gone.
Ooh, okay. That changes.
Sean Payton lingering out there changes everything.
That changes a lot. All right. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. You got one. You got me there. If Sean Payton was in a different universe going to Miami or wherever, back to New Orleans, doesn't matter. I think he wins 9 games. I think it's a 9 on the scale. 2 years from now, it's no matter what he does this year, it's a 1. I don't think there's any way that 2 years from now that, although he stuck with what's his name forever. Jason Garrett. I mean, he stuck.
Jason Garrett.
And I think the issue there was that he just got tired of people saying, "Why aren't you going to fire Jason Garrett?" So he just leaned into it. He pulled a Brinson, and I think he might just lean into this Mike McCarthy thing too, assuming, of course, that Sean Payton doesn't say explicitly, "I want to coach in Dallas next year."
Right.
Would Sean Payton do that? Like, is it disrespectful? I don't know what his relationship is with Mike McCarthy, if they've worked together on staffs or not, but he seems like a decent guy. Mike McCarthy seems like would you come out and say, not even publicly, let's say, would you do behind the scenes? You don't have to do it publicly, but would you say to Jerry, "Hey, by the way"?
Yeah, I think if you're Sean Payton and you didn't want to disrespect Mike McCarthy, you're saying?
Right. Would you even mention it behind the scenes if no one knew about it except you and Jerry?
You certainly wouldn't make it public. You would say, Jerry, like I'm.
But I mean, you would mention it, is what you're saying.
I think if I were Sean Payton, I would not it's saying Sean Payton is not going to like. If it gets leaked out that, or people are like speculating that Jerry Jones wants Sean Payton, I think Sean Payton would come out and do like a public statement that he's not interested.
And then really say, "I am interested."
And I think he would tell Jerry, like, look, if you're on, if you're, don't fire him because I'm here. But if you're not, if you want to fire him, I am here. Right. I mean, I just don't know what Sean Payton, like, what do we think Sean Payton wants to do? Like, do you think Sean Payton wants?
Well, he said he wants to coach. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I think he wants to do. What do you think he wants to do?
I guess I'm wondering, like, where does he want to coach? Does he think he's coming back to New Orleans, which would be awkward, of course?
I don't know why Miami keeps sticking in my head.
Because they were trying to get him last offseason, and then
with Tommy.
But it's like, man, you can't really fire Mike McDaniel now.
What about Arizona? I don't care that Cliff just got a new deal. I don't think that matters.
The Cliff's not going anywhere.
I wouldn't want that job just based on the fact that they released
I would not take. I wouldn't take that job. But yeah, based entirely on the fact that.
What about Seattle?
We
need a quarterback.
Yeah, we gotta get to a whole division.
Let's go.
All right, but first, we have to talk about Darius Leonard.
No. What's he called?
Shaquille Leonard.
There you go.
Wild. So like Darius Leonard has always said he's always gone by Shaquille Leonard.
But like during the draft process or something, maybe he got.
And he'd gotten advice from Randy Moss that told him to keep your ears open and keep your mouth shut as a rookie. And so when people called him Darius Leonard, he just rolled with it. But he says he's usually only like formal in school, and when he gets in trouble, is he called Darius. He's always gone by Shaquille, or I guess Shaq Leonard.
Shaq Leonard has a nice ring to it.
I like Shaquille Leonard.
All right, well, that's what he wants. That's what he's going to get. So Jason Oweh did the same thing. I don't think it was draft related. I think he went away for a while. Then he changed it to Odafe Oweh, which is his.
Well, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton.
What's he go by now?
Well, he was Mike Stanton.
Oh, not. I always think of it as the chubby left-handed middle reliever for the Braves. Not that Mike Stanton from the late 90s, early 2000s.
Giancarlo Stanton was Mike Stanton up until he got his first big contract. I think he was Mike Stanton all through the minor leagues. And once he made it to the bigs, he changed it to he was like, I'm going by my real name, Giancarlo. I can't remember if it was what the change was directly. Find out why he changed his name.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'm going to ask Debo an old school college basketball / NBA reference. See if he knows. Debo, do you want the Muslim name or the original English name of the person? You have to guess the other.
Whatever's more challenging.
I'm going to go with the Muslim name that he changed it to once he got to the NBA, because that means you have to go back a little further for the original name. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Dang it! Did you even watch him?
Not extensively. Like,
because you must have been like 4 or 5 years old when he was.
No, my mind was already there. Chris Jackson.
Dang it, that's a great one. So you obviously would have known Chris Jackson. I had to dig deep to get the Muslim name. He was awesome at LSU. I didn't watch a lot. I watched some NBA then. I don't know if he was good or not in the NBA.
He also has made like a reappearance in the Big Three in previous.
Oh, how is he?
Couple years on. You can watch it on Paramount Plus. He can hoop. Like he was one of the top players at age 50 in that league.
God, he's 50. I'm so old. Is he still in decent shape, or is he?
Oh no, he looks good.
Oh, great, good for him. So he looks like.
By the way,
did you know that? By the way, Brinson?
I literally. You told me to.
Who's Chris Jackson? What did he change his name to once he got to the NBA? Debo got it in 2 syllables before he even finished the guy's name. He played at LSU. He may have played with Shaq for a year or two.
53, by the way.
Dang it. There may have been a year or two overlap with Shaq. I can't remember at LSU.
Oh.
Debo crushed it. I can't believe Debo got that.
The LSU Shaq thing is messing me up, so I don't know.
Chris Jackson, the point guard, light skin, awesome.
What did he change it to?
Mahmoud, Abdul, Rauf.
Cool.
Nothing from Brinson. Too busy watching Duke basketball. Christian Leitner miss layups. All right, what'd you come up with?
No, so Giancarlo went by Mike in his adolescence because his classmates and his teachers couldn't pronounce Giancarlo right. So he went by Mike, and he just rolled with it. And basically, like once he got to the majors and became famous, he's like, "By the way, I'm going by my real name. Like it's y'all. It's on y'all to pronounce it now."
I don't know anything about him other than his name. Where is he? He grew up in America. Like I don't know his.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I believe so. I used to watch it. I mean, like he played for the Greensboro Grasshoppers.
I played in that stadium in college. My only collegiate home run was in
He grew up in L.A., I think, because they were talking about it at the All-Star game last week in L.A., that he was in his hometown.
He was born
Thank you, Debo. Brinson does all this Wikipedia research and doesn't come up with the simple facts.
Anyway,
Shaquille Leonard, that's what you want? You got it, Shaquille. Love it.
Done deal, Shaquille.
Are we going to start calling you Bob?
Are we going to call you Philip? Phil?
You can.
Okay, Phil. You know we got Phil?
Is Bob your first name?
No, Robert's my first name.
Oh, because Phil's my first name.
That's why we have I see. I can't go Bob because that's my dad.
Bobby?
Bobby.
You look like a Bobby. Loafers, no socks.
Bobby Brinson.
Sweater over your
That's
shoulder.
what all their grandmothers from High Point call my dad. Like, how's old Bobby Brinson doing?
Oh, yeah, because they know when he was little.
All right. You know what we got to do, Phil?
Take a break.
Take a break, which we're going to do right now. Then we'll come back and talk AFC North burning training camp questions next. We will start with the Bengals.
Hear the Bengals growling, mean and angry. Here he comes the prowling, mean and hungry.
Sounds like a fart there with the little.
It sounded like a little tuba. Sounded like a
little toot, not a tuba, a toot.
Toot, yeah. The Jesse Bates officially holding. I guess he's holding out because he's not. He hasn't. If you have a contract, you have to hold in, but he hasn't signed his tag, so he's holding out by not coming to Bengals training camp.
Holding in also means that if you show up too, right? Without a contract, does that count as holding in? I think TJ Watt did that, but I think he had a contract to your point. Anyway,
TJ Watt was like he was there because he was still on his rookie deal. Jesse Bates' rookie deal has expired, and he has been given the franchise tag, but he hasn't signed it. So he technically he is as someone without a contract. Breach and I talked about this a little bit, but he can get away with not showing up, and he can't be fined because he doesn't have a contract.
Oh, right.
Which is no surprise. I mean,
do
you think what's your level of concern that he might try and pull a Le'Veon Bell? I think it's pretty low, but.
Well, given the recent news that Le'Veon Bell had to scratch his boxing match with Adrian Peterson for the time being, and all the snowball's been going straight downhill ever since taking the year off to ski to what's it called to wakeboard or whatever in South Beach, jet ski, yes, or whatever. I think that Jesse Bates should pull Joe Burrow and just take it easy for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then show up when training camp's over because there's nothing else left to prove there than get hurt or whatever. Sign your franchise tender and go from there.
Yeah, I think you just do it. You just basically come in last minute. And
this is assuming that Mike Brown isn't going to cave because Mike Brown is known for not caving. So you could sit out. I don't think it would be in your best interest as a football player in his prime.
I mean, I think it's you don't want to miss. I mean, look, you don't want to get hurt in a preseason game. You don't want to get hurt in training camp. But if you sign this deal, you're going to you're going to get the guaranteed money. You sign. I think you just hold out and you sign the tender late.
What is the tender? Do you know off the top of your head?
It is
sweet Jesus,
$12.9 million.
And do you think the Minka deal hurt or helped Jesse Bates? And I'll reiterate that Mike Brown is the owner of the Bengals.
I think that the Jesse that it hurt the $12.91 million. Yeah, I got something right. I think that the Minka Fitzpatrick and Jamal Adams deals make it extremely difficult for Jesse Bates to sign a deal because he is in that same draft class as those guys. And you could make the argument that you would prefer Jesse Bates over those guys. Now, I'm not. He's in the same company as them.
Over Jamal Adams for sure. Minka, I don't know. He's good, but I wouldn't. 18 million is a lot for anybody that plays safety. Is sort of where I was going. I mean, are you paying him Harrison Smith $16 million a year? I mean, Justin Simmons feels like more of the ballpark of where Jesse Bates is. They're both great players. Buda Baker also, by the way. When did Buda sign his deal? Was that a year ago? Because that was the highest. He was the highest paid guy for a couple of weeks. It felt like
Buda was like 2 years ago.
Well, you said that about Robert Saleh too. So what do you know? I'm going to go last year because he only. Let's see. How old is he? He's 28. Either way,
maybe it was last year.
I don't know if you can pay him, or if you want to pay him. You can't pay him Jamal Adams money. Jamal Adams
2020 when Buda signs his extension.
Dang, you got that right. All right, good job. So what? I guess my question is, what are you paying Jesse Bates if you're the Bengals? Average annual value at the top is Minka at 18.4, followed by Jamal at 17.6, and then Harrison Smith at 16, and then finally Simmons, 15.25, which I feel like is the right.
I mean, I think that in a perfect world, the Bengals would love to pay him in the Buda Justin Simmons range, and Harrison Smith's deal is a little.
He's 30. He's 32. You can't pay him Harrison Smith money. I think you pay him. You try to squeeze him in between.
I don't think. Harrison Smith's deal is about. That's what deal's about. This is probably his last. He's probably getting. Oh my God, his base salary this year is $2.95 million.
Oh, okay, so he's good.
But like Harrison Smith's probably getting cut after this season.
But I think you have to pay him north of Justin Simmons on average $15.25 million, and you don't want to pay him $17.645, which is Jamal Adams per season. So, but we'll see. I mean, he's making 12 and change now if he signs a deal, which puts him at 27th among safeties, which sounds insane.
And maybe 2 years for Harrison Smith. So if you cut him in after 2022, oh wait, he has a yeah. Anyway, like I think I would not like if I were dealing with this, I would not be factoring in Harrison Smith's deal. Like I would sort of be ignoring that and looking at.
Yeah, that's what I just did between Jamal and Justin.
Yeah, I think, and that's So
but Jesse probably feels differently, and I understand why he would feel that way.
Well, now the other thing too is like Breach and I point and look like Harrison Smith had 14. I think you could get Jesse Bates to sign a deal where you get him the highest average guaranteed deal by any safety ever. So
but you have to release some news that he has to study 4 hours a week.
Yeah, right. You just give him more guaranteed money, but get him in the $16 million range on average annual value, and just say, look.
Did Breach say that's something that Mike Brown would be down for? Because it doesn't sound like something Mike Brown would be down for.
Yeah, because you got to put it in escrow if it's guaranteed. And the Bengals typically, I think they have a weird contract structure anyway.
Minka got $36 million guaranteed at signing. I mean, that's a lot of money for Mike Brown to be like, "Hey, go do with this what you will."
Yeah, it's a tough situation, I think. Okay, what else do we have to worry about with the Bengals?
Well, Joe Burrow's laid up for a couple weeks. Other than that, nothing. Offensive line, how does that group come together? Leo Collins, I think, was on the
Jordan Najani's one. He was a defensive back playing time.
What did he say?
Dax, it's like they have Daxton Hill in the wings. Maybe Hill could allow them to.
That's why they drafted Dax Hill. I would not knowing specifically that's why they drafted him, but I would imagine that's why they drafted him because of his versatility. He played primarily in the slot at Michigan. He can play deep safety. He can even play outside in the pinch if you want him to. And his measurables, quote unquote, are through the roof. But he actually played really well over the course of the season as well for Michigan.
And then the third thing was, how will Zach Taylor up the ante? Is his question.
And the other thing I should mention, just because I'm the junior draft analyst, they drafted Cam Taylor-Britt out of Nebraska, then Tyson Anderson, who both long cornerbacks. Tyson's out of Toledo. He's actually a safety. Longish players who provide some sort of back end. I don't want to say insurance because Jesse Bates is a different type of player. But they clearly drafted with the understanding that Jesse Bates may not make this as easy on them as they were hoping.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I think they know that their secondary needs to be better. And they, like you said, they went in on the secondary, and you have to think that, like, Eli Apple got torched in that Super Bowl. So maybe Cam Taylor-Britt takes over for him. You still have, this is a good looking defense. Lou Anarumo could get a head coaching look if that defense plays well in 2022.
Yeah, he could be the Cowboys coach next year for all we know.
Yeah, sure, why not? The Ravens. The biggest question that Dejani listed for Baltimore.
Let me guess.
It was not Lamar Jackson.
Dang it. Wide receivers.
So, wide receivers. That is correct. So they traded Marquise Brown, the former first-round pick, to Arizona.
What's his contract say about study habits? I'm going to beat that one into the ground, by the way.
I mean, it's fine. It's the most ridiculous thing. We spent 15 minutes talking about it, and with good reason. And they're not exactly loaded at the position. Although I think when you look at pass catchers, first of all, this is the most run heavy team in football over the last 2 years by like an insanely wide margin. Secondly,
do you have that list in front of you, or that's just the stat
I saw. It's like they have like 2,000 carries more than anybody else over the last 2 years.
So I wonder where Seattle and San Francisco stack up. But anyway, go ahead.
2,000 is not the number, but it's a lot.
Go ahead.
But so, it's like you have to factor that in. You have a quarterback who runs a lot. You have Mark Andrews as your number one receiver, your number one pass catcher. Like that.
J.K. Dobbins is coming back from the ACL.
Yep. J.K. Dobbins is a decent pass catcher.
I just meant the running game part of it.
Yeah. But you also have Rashad Bateman is like your number two. Like, I don't think
Mark Andrews is number one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Andrews is one and Rashad Bateman is two. Is not a bad setup.
But Bateman didn't have a great season last year. Not entirely his fault. I mean, Lamar missed time. Everyone was injured. So you need to bounce back from him to hopefully see more of what you saw during his final few. He actually opted out during his last season of Minnesota a couple years ago.
Who, Bateman?
Yeah.
He was his second year.
That's what I'm saying. You want to see sort of more glimpses of what you saw during his final season at Minnesota. Last year wasn't a bust, but he wasn't, I'm sure, as consistent as he was hoping to be. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great as a rookie. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna run every offense, and you don't have a. Yeah, I mean, 5 catch rate of 67.6%. Only had 68 targets. He just didn't have. He didn't have any. He didn't get a ton of. He didn't play a ton.
Okay. God, I didn't mean to upset you.
I'm just saying. Like, I think the concern over the Ravens wide receivers, as long as Andrews is healthy and Bateman takes a small step forward, is vastly overblown. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're in a situation where Andrews goes down and you've got Nick Boyle and Bateman's hurt too, and you've got Nick Boyle, Devin Duvernay, and James Prochet, you're probably in trouble. And I like both those guys. I like Tyler Wallace too.
I think worth noting is that they drafted two tight ends in the 4th round. I believe they were Charlie Kohler at Iowa State and then Isaiah Likely at Coastal Carolina. Both good players, different type players.
Not very likely to start. Am I right?
He's good. And, he's undersized. I think he played at 240-ish, but he plays much bigger than that in terms of he's a pretty good blocker, and he's a good receiver. Charlie Kohler is more of your prototypical. He feels like a Ravens tight end. 300
picks in that 4th round.
Yeah, and they used they didn't give up a single one of them. They are absolutely stacked on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I think we'll see more of the offense go through or continue to go through the tight ends, and they restock that position with the guys they drafted in round 4. And then I said J.K. Dobbins returned. They drafted Tyler Beatty on day 3, the running back out of Missouri, who sort of fits that profile which you have in J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill. I think they'll be fine, even though the wide receivers, to your point, may not be the Bengals wide receivers, for example.
Offensive line was listed, basically like how will the starters sort out, and it is fair to ask. Like, Ronnie Stanley is currently on the PUP, and there's some concern, I think, about him getting back in time. He had a severe leg injury, I believe. Tyler Linderbaum, rookie, first-round pick, along with Kyle Hamilton, one of the 2 first-round picks for the Ravens. Is he going to start at center coming out? And I mean, I would think so, right? Yeah, I mean, but with a rookie and with a your stud left tackle coming off an injury, not that they'd already signed anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think that is at least a fair concern. Then of course the final one was Lamar Jackson, which obviously a huge concern for the Ravens.
So let me ask you this: Lamar's his own agent. What if the Ravens, whoever negotiates the contracts for the Ravens, whether it's the GM or someone else, what if they say, "Listen, we'll give you $1 more than Kyler Murray, but we're going to release the same sort of, hey, you have to study 4 hours a week type thing."
I mean, do you think like that's an issue for Lamar?
No, I don't. What if they say that to him?
I would be like, no.
Or you could say, if you're Lamar, you could say, how about this? How about I sit at home and then you try to win with Tyler and or Brett Hundley?
I don't think that this is like a contentious.
I don't either. Because it seemed to me as soon as the Kyler deal was the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, that my immediate thought went to, okay, Lamar's going to get more than that. But now there's a caveat in that they had to publicly embarrass Kyler Murray before he got that contract. And I wonder how much embarrassment Lamar would put up with before he took more money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Lamar. I mean, if Kyler Murray can get $46.1 million per year,
it's a layup, absolute layup.
Yeah, I mean, like it's 100. We've got $100,000 more per year than Deshaun. I mean, that's what he wanted. And he didn't get to where Aaron Rodgers was, but 2-time MVP, different circumstances. I think that Lamar should easily get to 46.5. You even go 46. I mean, you could push Lamar above Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, no one would bat an eye except for Aaron Rodgers.
And I actually think Lamar might be interested, might be willing to do something like, Mahomes' deal, $45 million, obviously huge, but we're like, well, no one will go about Mahomes. It's like, no, everybody can keep going up. I think he might take less guaranteed money.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I think he gets somewhere between Kyler and Aaron Rodgers. And
any chance that he gets less than Kyler? Any chance?
Hell no.
All right.
You can't take less than
No, you can't.
Kyler.
No.
I think there's a better chance of him playing out 2 franchise tags and getting less than Kyler.
I agree with that. And I think that the chances of that is like 1%.
Now, I mean, there is like because the problem is if you go less than Kyler, you can't even get like a fully guaranteed deal that, because we got Watson there too, at 46 and fully guaranteed.
You sort of bury the lead. The problem with going less than Kyler is that you're admitting that someone who doesn't study is making more money than you, and he's not as good as you anyway.
Well, but I'm saying like that I would rather have Deshaun Watson's contract than Kyler's contract, even though Kyler's just technically more.
Oh, yeah. No,
I would rather have Mahomes' contract than Kyler's contract.
Just the what's it called? Like, like when people do commercials like for hemorrhoid cream or something, they call it embarrassment pay. This is embarrassment pay for Kyler.
Yeah, it's like you have to study no video games when you're trying to prepare for your job to win football games.
I mean, you're basically allowing your boss to say, "Hey, dumb, do something differently." By the way, we're going to pay you. That's typically not how you encourage people to do the right thing, by giving them what they want.
Yeah.
Parenting 101 brought to you by the Big Six Podcast.
That's right. Brian Brodius, formerly of the Cowboys, tweeted. He quote tweeted somebody who somebody was like, "This Dallas Cowboys presser is not convincing at all. They both sound like this maybe the last year with each other, but trying to be all buddy in public." And Brian Brodius quote tweeted and said, "MM took a job that he didn't know what it entailed. He knows now." Yikes!
How did he not know?
I don't know. It's like, how could you not know what playing with Jerry, what like coaching? Yeah. Mike's reactions, and somebody was like, Mike's reactions let us know the Dallas Cowboys are that much bigger than the Packers. Anyway, whatever. Moving along, the Browns. The Cleveland Browns. Dejani's number one question. These aren't all questions, but he's like, should they add a defensive tackle? The Browns have 2-star. Yeah, the Browns defensive tackle is a big question for the Browns. Like, are they going to be able to stop the run at all? I mean, you look at it, it's like, this is really like kind of a problem.
Yeah, they drafted Perry Winfrey at Oklahoma. That wasn't his strong suit. They have Taven Bryan, who I think was a former first-round pick of the Jaguars back in the day. He never materialized. Out of Florida, Jadeveon Clowney's back. He doesn't play inside; he plays outside. Jordan Elliott is also inside. Yeah, it's sort of a replacement level crew. If that, I think you're hoping for a replacement level. Tommy Togiai is there as well. So I think, can you work around that? Yeah, you can. I mean, Myles Garrett, who turns out is really good. JOK is awesome going into the second year. Denzel Ward's awesome, just got his new deal. John Johnson III is coming into year 2. Greedy Williams, he's been good, but not great because of injuries. Greg Newsome had a pretty good year last year as a rookie. So there are a lot of reasons for optimism on that defense. I think there's a lot more reasons on offense, assuming we find out what happens to Deshaun Watson before the season starts. And at this point, it seems like we'll never find out. But I think if there's one glaring hole, it is defensive tackle. They didn't do a whole lot to address it. They drafted Isaiah Thomas, too, as well, who was Perry Winfrey's teammate, but he plays more outside instead of inside. So no immediate fixes via the draft. And that said, you can win without top flight defensive tackles if everything else is sort of falling into place. I'm not super concerned about that.
He points out that there's been conflicting reports about the Browns' interest in Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want him.
Yeah, I mean, he would be a massive upgrade.
Unless he wants too much money.
Yeah, or just doesn't want to play in Cleveland. The next question is wide receiver.
Yeah.
They traded for Amari Cooper. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think they really like David Bell as a potential slot option. He's a sneaky guy in fantasy to take a look at, depending on how he does in the preseason.
Yeah, he's not fast. He didn't run well at the combine, and he wasn't like running by people. He's not quick. He's probably Juju Smith-Schuster-esque, but a little slower in terms of the physical stuff. Anthony Schwartz is the track guy they drafted way too high, I thought, last year, but he does have some deep ball ability. I'm looking at the rest of the roster here, and there's not a whole. Jakeem Grant's on the roster, so he can help in the slot as well, probably return kicks. But after that, yeah, there are a lot of questions. I mean, Amari's number 1, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know if you want him as your number 2 and feel comfortable about it, but that's where they are.
Yeah, I think it's Amari. I mean, it was a problem last year.
They moved on from Austin Hooper. They cut him, so they have Njoku, who they gave a big deal to.
The Odell Beckham trade just never worked out for them at all. I mean,
which is hilarious because they thought they were getting better in this thing. Yeah, and Harrison Bryant's also the other tight end who's athletic and can make plays, but I don't know if that makes up for the lack of depth at wide receiver.
Yeah, they certainly need to look at maybe some veterans.
Who?
DeJohnny threw out Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, Manny's still out there. Okay.
Buffalo Castoffs.
That's right. They both played together last year.
Yeah. I wouldn't hate either one of those guys going to Cleveland. It's also like,
is Cole better than Jakeem Grant? I mean, how many Jakeem Grants do you need on the roster?
Yeah, fair. Jakeem Grant's a nice little take the top off option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think they have to have one. I mean, like they could certainly add one.
If you're Josh Dobbs, the third stringer, how do you feel inside when the Browns signed Josh Rosen?
Oh my God. CJ Uzomah showed up at Jets camp in a Person of the Year fake Time magazine t-shirt with Zach Wilson on it.
All right. Hey, that's smart. You want more passes thrown your way.
Yeah, I don't hate this depth chart, but I mean you could, like, if something happens to Amari Cooper, all of a sudden it becomes a real problem, I think.
Yeah, after you figure
defensive tackle is definitely a much, much bigger concern for me than
the quarterback's the biggest concern.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what is Deshaun Watson going to do? I mean, they have if Deshaun Watson's suspended for the year, it's Brissett, Josh Dobbs, and Josh Rosen. You don't feel great about it.
The 3 J's.
Yeah, Jacoby, Josh, and Josh. I mean, you would be surprised if Rosen makes the roster. I mean, again, depending on what happens with Deshaun and like how long he's suspended, but yeah. I think adding a quarterback to me, the defensive tackle thing is like, I mean, the biggest deal is the Deshaun Watson suspension, but that's sort of out of your hands. Like, getting defensive tackle help to me is the bigger problem than wide receiver. Obviously, quarterback is a huge deal until you when you find out what the deal with Watson is. The Steelers, number one question, of course, who's going to be the starter? Is it Mitchell Trubisky or is it the rookie Kenny Pickett?
I think it's Trubisky.
Yeah, I don't think it's that close.
Yes, I don't even think it's a mystery. I talked about this on HQ earlier in the week. Matt Canada's offense coordinator. He likes pre-snap motion and moving the pocket and having athletic quarterbacks. And Mitchell Trubisky checks all those boxes. And he had some success. You had to squint to see it in Chicago. And he certainly has better weapons around him now in Pittsburgh with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. They drafted George Pickens, who I think is going to be really good. They got Calvin Austin, who I think is going to be really good, but he's diminutive to put it politely. The offensive line will be better. This team is incredibly young. I think the average age is like 25 or 26, something bonkers. Pat Freiermuth is going to have a good second year after a strong first year. And ironically, which is crazy because last year they were such a sieve, their defensive line is going to be pretty good. Steph Tuitt retired, which is a huge loss, but Cam Hayward's back. Tyson Alualu's back from injury. They signed Larry Ogunjobi, who incidentally played for the Browns at previous points in his career. And we know about TJ Watt. They drafted DeMarvin Leal in round 3. So they'll be fine there. They got Minka, who we talked about earlier in the podcast. They need a huge year from Devin Bush, who after the ACL injury wasn't quite the first-round pick that they were hoping for. And they had some questions in the secondary. Joe Hayden is no longer there. I don't think he's coming back unless there's an injury, but they got Levi Wallace from the Bills. They re-signed Terrell Edmonds. They have Ahkello Witherspoon, who they traded for last year. So it's a relatively young group, but you can get lit up pretty quick if you're not paying attention with the Joe Burrows and the Lamar Jacksons of the world. So quarterback, obviously the biggest concern. If you want to look a little deeper, back up behind Najee Harris, they just signed Jerry McNichols, who I sort of like out of Tennessee, but they have Benny Snell, who's the immediate backup. Other than that, it's just, can this quarterback / OC thing work? I don't know. I mean, Tomlin always wins half his game, so I think they find a way to go 8-1 again. But beyond that, it's just icing on the cake. The issue for me is that I don't know how good Kenny Pickett's going to be and win.
Or how good Mr. Trubisky's going to be.
No, but that's, at least you have some idea in the NFL what that will look like.
Sure.
If Kenny Pickett is as good as Mitchell Trubisky, this is a huge waste of a pick, is my point.
Oh, right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. I
didn't love him coming out, so we'll see.
A lot of fumbles. Tiny hands.
Pete says it doesn't matter.
Of course, Pete loves him. The wide receiver rotation is the number 2 issue for DeJohnny that he listed on here. What are your thoughts on Pittsburgh's wide receiver setup?
I like it. I mean, Deontay Johnson's going to want to get paid. Chase Claypool needs to bounce back from a so-so.
Subpar second year.
First year, I think he had 9 touchdowns. He was through the roof. And then last year,
it's interesting. He's like, I've got a lot of Chase Claypool in best ball because he's just a cheap. Like you can get him later than people are just not interested in the Pittsburgh wide receivers really. Yeah,
I think that goes back to the quarterback again. But I think George Pickens is going to be secretly a really good player. The Steelers, when we talked about this on a podcast, I think it was on
George Pickens, of course.
One of the mailbags. Yeah, George Pickens is a first-round talent. There's some maturity concerns. He had an ACL the previous spring that probably saw him drop a little bit. And Calvin Austin, I think, was 4th round. And I think the Ravens were eyeing him too. But if he were 2 inches taller, he probably would have been a second-round pick as well. But he's dynamic. He ran into the 4.3s, maybe even faster than that. So I'm not worried about the wide receivers. Miles Boykins, they signed after the Ravens released him. The Ravens he was a 3rd-round pick out of Notre Dame who didn't quite work out in Baltimore for whatever reason. So I don't think there are high expectations there, but he's also in camp. And the tight ends we mentioned, I think this group is pretty good. They actually signed Chase Sternberger, who I loved coming out of college, Texas A&M, I think, transferred from Kansas.
That's correct.
Yeah, he was a Kansas transfer. I remember when he came out, I think he ended up going on day 2. Scout I talked to said the one issue with Chase Sternberger is that he had 1 year productivity, and why didn't he do anything previously at Kansas? And that sort of played itself out during his time. And look, if you can't have success in Green Bay,
yeah,
okay. So he's literally listed 5th on the depth chart in Pittsburgh. So I don't know what that means for his future. Probably not great, but he's on there. The other thing I'll mention is, and I'll ask you, Mason Rudolph. What are the chances that he, second week of September, is he in Pittsburgh or is he somewhere else?
I'll say he's in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I think he gets traded for a 6th-round pick.
So
what are you making that face for?
Who's trading for him?
I don't know. I mean, is he better than Josh Rosen?
Probably.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course he is.
Okay.
It's a 6th-round pick.
The position that DeJohnny added was the left guard position.
Yep, Kevin Dodson versus Kendrick Green. Kendrick Green was the third-round pick last year at Illinois. He played center, and he struggled. I liked him a lot coming out as an interior offensive lineman. His future may be better suited to guard, where he won't be quite so overwhelmed. And Kevin Dodson struggled with injuries. Mike Tomlin has short patience with people who are hurt all the time, fair or not. Sure. So if Dodson can't sort of get right with the health guys, maybe that'll be an opening for Kendrick Green, who hopefully will play better at guard than he did at center when he had a tough year. There's no two ways about it. They signed James Daniels. They spent a lot of money on him, the guard formerly of Chicago, second-round pick, and I think he's going to come in right away and solidify that the right side, which is good news for not only Najee, who took a beating last year, but also Mitchell Trubisky.
Everyone. All right. Anything else?
No, hour on the dot.
That's right, baby. We blitzed through those. Sorry. The Kyler, I'd forgotten just like how the Kyler, oh, wow. Chris Carson is retiring from the NFL.
All right. Godspeed.
Ian Rappaport of NFL Media Reports. That neck injury had really been kind of lingering as like something that like felt like it was going to be tough for him to come back from. And
they drafted, we talked about folks changing their names earlier or whatever. Kenneth Walker III, he goes by Ken. So call him Ken. Don't call him Kenneth. He was second-round pick of the Seahawks, and Chris Carson is now, he was on obviously on that roster as well. So now it's Rashad Penny, Ken Walker, DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, excuse me, Darwin Thompson, formerly of Utah State, Jordan Love, and then also, of course, the Chiefs is on the roster as well.
Indeed. All right. Oh, also,
oh God.
Well, no, I was going to say Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan had said, we've moved on to Trey. This is Trey's team. I mean,
Jimmy was great for us, but we're moving on. Yeah,
basically they are endorsing. They don't want people to mistake that this is indeed Trey Lance's team. It's not a Jimmy Garoppolo unit.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, I agree. I mean, it's a smart thing to do. You got to get out in front of it. You don't want to like sow discord with your young QB. All right. That will do it for us. For Wilson, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys tomorrow.